In a small alpine town in southern Switzerland, nestled between great rolling mountains, there lived a man named Samuel. This town, like many others, was marked by the rhythms of everyday life. People worked hard for agriculture, children played in the streets, and families gathered around dinner tables each evening. Despite the simplicity of the town, there was a palpable warmth in the air, a sense of community that made this place feel like home to those who lived there. And at the heart of this community was Samuel, a man known not for his wealth or status, but for his boundless generosity. Samuel had grown up in this very town, in a modest home with his parents and two younger siblings. His family wasn't wealthy by any means, but they were rich in love and kindness. His parents were known for their open hearts. They welcomed anyone who needed help, often sharing what little they had. Samuel's father would say, "It's not about how much you have, but how much you give." These words stayed with Samuel as he grew older, shaping the man he would become. As a boy, Samuel was full of curiosity and energy. He loved exploring the mountains and valleys surrounding his town and finding peace in the silence of nature. But life wasn't always easy. When he was just 12, his father passed away unexpectedly, leaving the family to navigate the harsh realities of life without him. The grief weighed heavily on Samuel. But even in those dark days, his mother's unwavering strength and kindness shone through. Samuel's mother continued to help others, even when she herself was struggling. Samuel learned from her that true strength lies in the ability to give, even when you have little. When Samuel grew into a young man, he faced trials of his own. He dreamed of becoming a teacher, but his family couldn't afford to send him to school beyond the basics. Instead, he took on various jobs around town, working in the fields, mending fences, and helping neighbors with repairs. Though these jobs were humble, Samuel approached each one with a sense of purpose, always looking for ways to make someone else's day a little brighter. Samuel quickly became a fixture at the shelter. He spent his days cooking meals, organizing donations, and cleaning up after the guests had left for the day. But more than that, he took the time to get to know the people who came to the shelter. He would sit with them, listen to their stories, and offer words of encouragement. He treated each person with dignity and respect, never looking down on them for their circumstances. For many of the shelter's guests, Samuel's kindness was a rare and precious gift. As the weeks turned into months, Samuel became more and more involved in the shelter's work. They started organizing collections in the town to get clothes, blankets, and other supplies for the homeless. He also reached out to local businesses and churches, asking for donations to help keep the shelter running. His efforts didn't go unnoticed. Soon, more people from the community began volunteering their time and resources, inspired by Samuel's example. Despite his own financial difficulties, Samuel continued to give what he could. There were times when he would go without, so that the people at the shelter could have a little extra. He would save his money to buy new shoes for someone who needed them, or to cover the cost of a bus ticket for someone trying to get back on their feet. Samuel never asked for anything in return. He was simply grateful for the opportunity to help. But as the years went on, Samuel's health began to decline. The long hours and physical strain of working at the shelter took their toll, and he found himself becoming more and more exhausted. Still, he refused to slow down, determined to continue helping others as long as he could. One day, the shelter's director noticed how tired Samuel looked and sat down with him to talk. She knew how much the shelter meant to him, but she also knew that he couldn't keep going at this pace forever. Together, they came up with a plan. Samuel would take on a new role at the shelter, one that would allow him to continue helping without putting too much strain on his health. He would become a mentor to the younger volunteers, sharing his wisdom and experience with them and helping to guide the shelter's work from behind the scenes. Samuel took on his new role with the same dedication and passion that he had always shown. He spent his days training new volunteers, offering them advice, and encouraging them to carry on the work that he had started. Though he wasn't on the front lines anymore, Samuel's impact was still deeply felt throughout the shelter. The volunteers he mentored went on to become leaders in their own right, carrying forward Samuel's legacy of kindness and generosity. As the years passed, Samuel's health continued to decline, but he remained a beloved figure in the community. People would often come by his small home to visit, bringing him food, helping with chores, or simply spending time with him. They knew how much Samuel had given to the town, and they wanted to give back to him in return. In his final days, Samuel reflected on his life. He had never been wealthy, and he had faced many challenges, but he had lived a life full of purpose. He knew that he had made a difference, not through grand gestures, but through the small, consistent acts of kindness that had defined his life. When Samuel passed away, the entire town mourned his loss. But they also celebrated his life, remembering him not just for what he had given, but for who he was. A man whose heart was richer than any treasure, whose wisdom came from a lifetime of experience, and whose kindness had touched more lives than he could ever know. Samuel's journey reveals that true richness is found in a generous spirit and a compassionate heart, not in material wealth or status. Raised with values that emphasized giving over having, he devoted his life to assisting those less fortunate, even when facing his own challenges. His unwavering commitment to kindness, even as his health declined, underscores that one's ability to make a difference isn't limited by personal circumstances. The community's response to his selflessness shows how one person's actions can inspire collective goodwill and support. Samuel's story teaches that every act of kindness, no matter how small, contributes to a lasting legacy of positivity and change.